All right, guys. So I kind of want to go over, these notes today. We're doing our first set of notes, which is going to be a set of notes on lettering. And I just want to go over the format first. If you've never taken Cornell notes, it is a strategy we use in Avid, because it's scientifically proven that this format of notes helps you retain information and remember information better. The reason is because you write your notes in this section and then you revisit them and write your question section and then you write your summary section. And that's why it's proven to be good for you. And I like using them. It keeps all our notes looking the same. And, I think it's easier for you to read them and, helps you, come back and think about the question format and the summary section. So looking at the top, you have this up here, this big old section right here. That's your heading. That is worth 20 points. Okay. The biggest section here is going to be the notes, where you actually put your notes, which is going to be this big old rectangle right there. That is worth 50 points. So if you do your heading, you do your notes, 20 and 50, that gives you 70. So the remaining 30 points is going to be in the last two sections, which is this questions right here to the left, and then the summary, which is down here at the bottom. And each one of those sections is worth 15 points. Okay. So that's a total of 100. Now, with this entire set of notes, 100 points, for the first couple of times that we write these, we'll go through these together. But then afterwards, we usually, do our heading, do our notes one day. And then for the warm-up on the next day, the next time we come in, you will write your questions in your summary. But first couple of times, probably the first 3 times, we will do those together. So for today, and I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in because I know it might be hard to see this. For today, we're gonna do a set of notes on lettering. So that is our topic for today, lettering. So and I'm not gonna put my name on these, so you put your name, put your class and your period, which it is art, then / whatever your class period is. And today's date is September 24th. Or not September, August 24th, sorry. 21. And our essential question: what are some ways to help my letters look consistent? All right, so I'll leave that up for a minute so you can get that down. Now, for this set of notes, I'm just gonna be talking and writing. You guys follow along, whatever I do, including the drawings, do them on your notes too. Now, I will tell you that usually when I do notes, I like to do mine in marker just because, I'll grab a couple of different colors of markers, and in between ideas, I will change color. That's how I like to do my notes. Some people like to do their notes just in pencil or just with pen. So whatever you want to write with, that's what you want to use, whatever you like the most. So, starting at the beginning. All right, we're talking about today, we're going to make our name tents. And what we need is these name tents to be highly visible, nice and bold, letters that I can see from across the room, not just simple plain stick letters. So we're talking about making bubble or block letters. So when making bubble or block letters, we're gonna think kind of like a skeleton, bones, and the meat around the bones. So I'm gonna start with when making bubble or block letters, think of it as the skeleton and the meat around the bones. Okay, so what I mean by that is, for example, if you have like a little stick man, I'm hoping you guys can draw a stick man. I'm gonna draw a little, the head, the stick, the two legs, the two arms. If I am going to try to make this little stick man look a little bit more bolder, we're gonna add some meat to those bones. Which all I would do is, I would take a marker or a pen or whatever you're gonna draw in, and I would kind of outline all the way around him in a certain thickness. And that would make my stick man a little bolder, a little bit wider, a little bit more legible. So that's what we mean by the skeleton and the meat around the bones. So all of us, I'm gonna say all of us, most of us can draw regular stick letters. So if I was to draw like, let's say a letter S, maybe like a W, we can all draw stick letters. And if you want to make those into nice bold letters, let's say this S, I want to make into a bubble letter, then you would just kind of trace around it. You have the stick, you have the bone, and then we're just going to add meat to the bone. So what I'm doing is, you know, this thickness right here, I'm going all the way around the letter and I'm trying to stay about the same thickness away from the bone. And then once you get done, you'll have your nice bubble letter. If you're trying to make a block letter, instead of having these nice round edges, you would have rigid, straight cuts. So I would go boom, I'm going around the whole letter, trying to stay about the same distance away from the stick. And there I would have my block letter, right? Also, if I wanted to draw, you know, some people are like, oh, I want to make like my own style of letter. And I used to, whenever I was in junior high and high school, I would draw my A's kind of like this, because I was a cholo, right? So if you have a stick letter that looks like that, you can kind of do the same thing, and I can just go around it. And some of you might be like, what the heck is that? For me, this is how I would make my A's. So it was like my A's kind of in my own style, more like graffiti type. I don't know if you want to call it that, but that's kind of what we're talking about when making bubble or block letters. If you say you don't know how to make them, all you got to do is start off with the stick, which is we're calling the bone, and then add meat to the bone to add the thickness to it. So right here in my notes, I'm going to put add meat to the bones. To make bubble or block letters. All right. So the next point I want to give you, the next thing to help you is using guidelines. You know, we're talking about our essential question. What are some ways to help my letters look consistent? You know, first, adding meat to the bones, using that stick as a guide. And the second thing I want to go is to use guidelines. So I'm pretty sure you guys remember from like when you were in, I'll just say kindergarten, when you started writing letters. I used to have like these workbooks, and they kind of look like this, where they had two edges, and then they would have like this dash line in the middle, right? And when you were first starting to learn how to do your letters, they would actually have, like, there was a dot, and then they would give you a little line, a dotted line. And then what you would do is you would come in with your pencil and you would follow that line and be like, okay, right, boom. And then when you got better, they would take the dash line away, and then you would use these guidelines to draw the letters on your own, right? And the teacher would tell you, make sure it's touching the top, make sure it's touching the bottom, you know, and they would try to make your letters look as neat as possible. Same thing with lettering. You can use guidelines so that you can kind of dictate the size, the flow of your letters. And your guidelines don't necessarily have to be straight. You know, you could actually make some guidelines that are like, for example, I like these that are like curvy. You know, I could have one that's like pinched in the middle. Or I could have one that kind of goes to its own thing, maybe from like big to small, right? And once I have those guidelines, the next thing I would do is I would, you know, kind of practice, make sure that whatever letters I'm gonna put in there fit. And then once I have my practice and I know they're gonna fit, then I would come in with my final see, and at the end, I could erase my guidelines and it would just leave me with my letters kind of in that shape, right? The next one I'm doing here, and I'm just kind of going fast, trying to finish this up. I know our classes are like really short. Those are exclamation points. Please use guidelines, it says. And then the last thing I want to say about the guidelines, this also goes with the stick letters, the guidelines. You need to make those really light, because once you're done, you're going to erase those. So make your guidelines light, so you can erase them when done. Okay, so that's guidelines. All right, I'm gonna move up my paper a little bit. The last thing we want to talk about for this set of notes is 3D letters. 3D letters. When you make 3D letters, if you can make a regular bubble or block letter or any type of bold letter, then you can add a 3D effect to it. And to do that, I'm gonna see if I can explain this. It says make angle lines the same direction and same size. Make angle lines same direction and same size. Okay, so for example, I'm gonna make a letter M here. Then I'm gonna make a letter S. And I'm gonna make one a block letter, and I'm gonna make one a bubble letter. So I'm gonna use red. So here's my M. Then my S. Boom, there's my S. We're talking about making angles. It says make angle lines the same direction and the same size. So this is what we mean by that. So whenever you add a 3D effect, and I'm gonna go ahead and erase my bone so you can see this. Whenever you make angle lines, you gotta figure out what direction you want the 3D effect to go in. For the M, I'm gonna go top and to the left. So that means, depending on what thickness I want, boom, I'm gonna do an angle line that way. And that's how thick I want the 3D effect to be. And now, I'm just gonna pick the corners and I'm gonna try to match that first angle line I did. And any corner I have, I'm gonna draw an angle line. Trying to match the original one I did. So I did every corner that I see, or every part where it changes direction. The only thing you have to remember about this, if it's on the inside of the letter, you are not going to use it. Like all these, you are not going to use. And then what you would do is, now that you know the ones on the inside you're not gonna use, the ones on the outside, you would just connect the edges. So from here, you would connect to there, you would connect to there. From here, you would connect to there, but it's on the inside. So from here, how do you do this one? Well, you kind of see that line, so you would, boom, connect to there and connect those edges. And that is how you would do the 3D effect. Now, the ones that are curved are a little bit more difficult because you don't have like these sudden changes where, boom, it goes and makes that point. So for something like the S, you would just start throwing angle lines. For example, let's say with this S, I want to go top right. So I would just start throwing angle lines all over this S. And I'm trying to make them the same direction, same size. And then once I have that, then I could, you see these ones that are on the outside? I could connect those. Boom. And that is how I would make my 3D effect on the S, okay? So that's kind of what I want to go over for your notes. That's it. What I want you to do is, the back side of this paper is actually like blank. What I want you to do is I want you to practice drawing some letters, and in a little bit we'll get started on our name tent and I'll give you some more directions on that, okay? Tomorrow we will come back, we will do our questions and summary together, and we'll finish this first set of notes off, okay? So let me zoom in a little bit, just in case you still need to see them, and I will pause the video right here. For now, finish your notes, use the backside to practice some lettering, and we'll get going with our name tent here in a couple of minutes.